Welcome to today's McInnes Marketing Minute.
What's up, everybody? Happy Halloween. As you can clearly see, Jay has not dressed up. That is just his face. Today we are talking about inspections. Guys, as it is obviously a lot more common these days to have an inspection subject on any accepted offer, and we think people get a little bit caught up, I want to say.
I think they're watching a little too much HGTV.
Yeah.
If you ask me.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's a good shout.
An inspection, for those of you in the last handful of years who have had the luxury of being able to include one in your offer, is when a third-party inspector gets called in to assess the property, be it a building or a house, of course, and give you his large report, which will highlight their findings, the good, the bad, the ugly. They don't care if you buy it or not. Obviously, they're a third party that gets paid either way just to do the inspection, so they're giving you their third-party insight into the property. This is a very good thing. However, my reference to HGTV, it is not a point to go into, I guess we'll say, and try and create leverage with it, unless actually necessary.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, there was a leak here once, but it's now dry, so there's no leak, is not an invitation to, we want $15,000 off of the asking price.
Thank you.
Perfect example. On a side note, is not oh no, we need to gut this whole entire property and redo absolutely everything if we buy it, like said HGTV shows.
Yeah, so when getting an inspection, the inspector is there giving you his insured opinion on what he or she is seeing in the property by way of today's code, building code. Chances are they're going to find things that are not to code if the home is not built this year. So just having that kind of small perspective on the inspection, I think, is the first rule that you should go by. They're there to tell you what is to code and what is not to code, what they see an issue with and what they don't. And obviously we're not bad-mouthing any inspectors, they're very necessary. However, you need to take their information with remotely critically, not this is the be-all and end-all, in my opinion. I think, to Ben's points, we're seeing a lot of people in this market that's slowly turning around, getting inspections, finding minuscule things that may have happened in the building's history that don't affect anything or one today. Every building, every home has a history, and are trying to use those points as leverage that to adjust pricing. And those aren't points of issue that are going to be continued ongoing problems or anything like that. They're just pieces of the building's history being brought to the surface.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to actually, when you look at it like this, is so you're buying either a 2005 building, even a 2015 building, a 4-year or 14-year-old building. Are you really expecting it to be in pristine, perfect condition, having been lived in for a number of years? It's just unrealistic. And the inspector is a precaution, to Jay's point, that there are no lingering serious issues. So there will always be some wear and tear involved, and there will always be code changing. So they'll recommend, say, a plumber will come in and they'll need to swap out the steel braided hoses on the washing machine. Things like that just code changes, basic wear and tear, which will be in any building you find. If you're not happy with anything at all, you need to immediately just look at brand new property. And it's a precautionary measure. Like, don't get me wrong, there are things that do happen that absolutely warrant some work being done before you are happy to remove that subject. And sometimes,
or even pulling out of a deal.
Yeah, sometimes it is 100% warranted to say, no, look, we're not happy with this is serious. But we're saying pick and choose your battles carefully, because we think a lot of people fall into the trap of bringing an inspector across, which you typically pay for. Some minor things come up, wear and tear, maybe it's not explained properly, maybe you just get fearful because you find that, and so you ask for unrealistic expectations, maybe pull out of a deal, you continue your search, And then maybe once you've done the same on 2 or 3 or maybe 4 properties and you've paid for inspections on that, you start seeing the same sort of things, maybe even worse things. You kind of realize what a fruitless exercise it's been, because you've just drained your wallet and you're now at a point where you've realized a building is a man-made object, wear and tear is always applicable.
Yeah, we had a deal recently that we had an inspection done on one of our listings, and there was a few larger points that we had addressed prior to the inspection that our seller was going to repair prior to completion either way, no matter what was found in the inspection. And then the inspection carried forward, and there were, I think, 5 little points, small as window latches in the den were broken off and needed to be repaired. The glass shower that was put in to code at the time by professionals was missing the back glass that opened up onto the bathroom. I don't know if this makes any sense, but anyway, it was done to code at the time.
Intentionally built like that.
Intentionally built like this. Oh, you guys are missing the back glass in the shower. And anyway, to all these smaller noisy bathroom fans times 2.
Yeah.
So little, very minimal, again, wear and tear things. And then in this case, there was actual things that were decisions from the designer and the owner that got passed at the time on their renovation 10 years ago. They wanted $15,000 off the top of the price, which was absolutely ridiculous. And obviously our owner said, this is ridiculous. I feel like I'm getting gouged. We're not going to do anything. We're going to continue to do the things that we said we were going to do, and we're not going to do anything further than that. That's fine. The seller's in a position. They have an accepted offer. It's up to the buyers to either remove that subject or not. They ended up at the end of the day removing the subject, and the deal went forward. Can you blame them for trying? Maybe, maybe not. But at the end of the day, it's creating a whole bunch of stress and anguish just to try, and you can do that, and the seller can't pull out. But is it worth pushing for? If they want dates changed later, for example, to maybe be convenient, now the seller is substantially less inclined for this ridiculous ask in the first place to work with them on things like that. So I think you got to think long term. These weren't things that were going to affect their unit. They're going to fully renovate the place anyway, at least was their story from the start. So just think before you go and say, like on TV, we found these issues, we want X amount off, or we're walking away. Is it really worth it? Unless it is for something that's an actual issue.
Yeah, and for those of you buying a condo unit as well, like a strata property, don't forget if there's a larger thing at play. So for example, if you're buying an air-conditioned unit and you see an issue with maybe a heat pump or part of the AC unit, always check through strata documentations, because half of the times, if the strata is responsible for the air conditioning, a lot of the times you're just responsible for changing the filter of an air conditioning unit. The rest falls down to strata. Of course, it's building dependent, but you're not going to pull out or ask for money off on something that just the current seller just basically says to strata, hey, I have this issue and I need it fixed, and it gets rectified. Things like that. And if there's a larger building issue, don't forget that's what reserve funds are for. You want to check that they're being proactive with any problems at all. Of course, if it's a larger problem that you're uncomfortable with and warrants pulling out, then of course, absolutely do so. But again, pick and choose your battles, because the worst thing that we want for you guys is to pull out because of something that you're worried about, miss out on the property and the opportunity at hand, only to 2 or 3 properties later realize that you should have just pulled through and you missed a really good opportunity for just being a little bit over fearful.
Exactly, and speaking exactly from the buyer's perspective, that's the main thing, your expectations. And not to say that if you find something bad enough that it's not worth pulling out for, it definitely can be, but as a buyer, don't have your expectations so high that there's not going to be anything wrong. I mean, there's anyone who's bought pre-sale, you're going to find efficiency walkthroughs, there's issues with brand new product. So just be realistic is the biggest takeaway, I think.